3, 2, 1, go. Markiplier fanfic, gotta hoof it. This is something that's been on the backlog in the back burner for quite a while now. And, I just crave death every day. As established in the previous video. Please go watch it. It was late because it took 12 hours to render. Don't worry, things should be back on track now. At least I hope they should be. This is a Markiplier My Little Pony crossover fanfiction. Also, the cover image for this is fantastic. Alright. Alright, here we go. The dark-haired YouTuber named Mark, known as Markiplier, sighed in relief. He had just finished editing and uploaded the day's second video. He softly laughed to himself when he saw the video he literally just uploaded already had 301 plus views. Mark rolled his chocolate brown eyes with an amused smile. The Let's Player stood up and got out of his office chair, stepped out of the room, and heading for his kitchen. Mark flipped the light switch, sighing in irritation when he realized the bulb was burnt out. After looking everywhere for a new one, he figured out that he didn't have any more new light bulbs. It was pretty early in the afternoon, and the store wasn't too far from his home. Mark let out another irritated sigh and decided it wouldn't kill to go buy some more light bulbs real quick. He could also probably grab some groceries while he was out anyway. Mark drove in silence down the street, keeping his eyes on the road as he made his way to the nearest store, hoping to be back at his apartment in no time. Mark stiffened when he suddenly heard the sound of screeching tires coming from the left side of his car. He whipped his head around to see another vehicle heading straight for him. Mark gripped his steering wheel, about to instinctively react, but before he could even blink, the vehicle hit the side of his car, the impact pushing against his body. Glass breaking and tires screaming against the road was the only thing heard as the darkness flooded Mark's vision before he fell into unconsciousness. Oh boy, we're off to a strong start. The soft sound of birds tweeting and wind blowing gently against Mark's ears was heard as he slowly opened his eyelids. His eyes widened when he saw he was in a grassy field with a bright blue sky being surrounded by white fluffy clouds. He slowly sat up, trying to stand on two legs before he fell backwards onto his rump. Ugh, what the hell? How does Mark sound? I can't remember. Hello everybody, my name is Markiplier. Subscribe to PewDiePie. Yeah, that's the best you're gonna get. Wait, hold on. Where am I? What the hell? He muttered to himself before standing up on all fours. Mark slowly raised his hand to rub his head, which was slightly aching. He froze immediately when he didn't see a hand at all, but a black hoof covered by gray fur. Ah! Mark said as he jolted backwards from being startled. Feeling something spring up on his back, he slowly turned around to see two gray wings attached to his back, which was also covered in gray fur. Mark shook his head. This is gonna be some kind of weird lucid dream or something, he told himself, adjusting the glasses that he sat on the bridge of his snout. He looked around, seeing a nice red barn in the distance surrounded by acres and acres of apple trees. He raised an eyebrow, deciding that walking down to the place was the only option he had at the moment. As the assumingly dreaming YouTuber hoofed his way to the farm, he examined his appearance, seeing a very dark brown tail following behind him and his movements. He also took a good look at his feathery wings, moving them around with confusion. Huh? He mumbled to himself before colliding with an apple tree, an apple falling on his head as a result. Ow! He sighed angrily, standing up and finally making it to the house that sat a few ways away from the red barn. Mark hesitantly raised his hoof, knocking on the door that was in front of him. He expected to see a human or something. He raised a brow when he saw the door was opened, seemingly no one was there. He looked around, seeing a little yellow filly with a pinkish red mane and tail being accompanied by a huge pink bow. Applejack, there's someone at the door, she said, slightly turning her head to call for whoever Applejack was. Oh, that was Apple Bloom. I'm fake brony. I used to be a brony, but not like, I didn't go to any conventions. I just watched the show because I thought the writing was good. Tell you, man, that season 4 finale battle, that was epic. Better than anything Cartoon Network's made in the last few years. Haha, take that, libtards. Mark stood as he watched an orange pony walk up to the door. She had a bright blonde mane and tail, a cowboy hat, and bright green eyes. Well, howdy there, stranger. Anything I can help you with? The orange freckled mare turned to the yellow filly. Applebloom, go see if Granny needs your help. The little pony nodded and trotted off. Applejack turned back to Mark. Hi, I'm Applejack. She stepped a bit closer. Pardon me, but I don't think I've ever seen you around here before. Where are you from? Mark stepped back a bit. I'm from California. Where am I now? Applejack tilted her head in confusion when he said California. You're in Ponyville, more specifically Sweet Apple Acres, she replied with a friendly smile. Never heard of California before. Mark raised an eyebrow. Ponyville? The farm pony nodded. Yep. Oh, wait, I didn't catch your name. Mark presented a friendly smile. I'm Mark. Applejack shook his hoof. Nice to meet you. Are you staying here in Ponyville? She asked kindly. Mark shrugged. I sort of just woke up in the middle of the field. I don't really know where my apartment is, he replied sheepishly. Oh, well, you can stay here if you like. Come on in. Granny Smith just finished making her favorite Zap Apple Jam. Applejack said as she turned away from the door, letting Mark in. The now gray YouTuber stepped in hesitantly, wondering how long this alleged dream would last. You know, Mark is just dead. You say you're not from here. No, it's Granny Smith. You say you're not from here. The light green elderly pony asked with an old quaky voice, hardly understandable. Mark sat in a chair as they spoke. Yeah. He rolled the back of his head with his new hoof. I'm not even sure how I got here. That's awful. That's awful. Did you hit your head or something? The small filly asked, curiosity in her orangish eyes. Mark hesitantly shrugged. Probably. I just remember being in a bad car accident before I got here. This isn't... I'm laughing through the pain. The four ponies that sat with the YouTuber gave confused looks as he mentioned car. Car? Applejack asked with a suspicious eyebrow raised. Yeah, like a form of transportation, Mark explained with a raised eyebrow. Oh, do you mean like a taxi or a carriage? The small filly Mark remembered was named Applebloom, spoke up. Mark shrugged. Yeah, I guess so, he lied, figuring that these ponies didn't know what a toilet was, let alone a vehicle. Well, if you have no place to stay, you can always stay here, Applejack offered kindly with a smile. Mark returned the smile. Thanks. The orange pony simply nodded. No problem, partner. Say, have you met Pinkie Pie yet? The dark-haired YouTuber, who was now a stallion, shook his head. Really? Wow, Pinkie's definitely going to throw you a huge welcoming party then, Applebloom said joyfully. A welcoming party? Mark slightly chuckled. She doesn't have to do that. Oh, there's no stop. Oh, there's... Wait, the elder mare that the two others called Granny Smith spoke up. I can't... Donate to my Patreon so I can not die. Oh, there's no stopping her. The elder mare that the two others called Granny Smith spoke up. Pinkie Pie throws a party for every newcomer around here. Ain't that right, Big Macintosh? The red stallion that was quiet the whole time nodded. Yup. Mark raised an eyebrow, not being able to believe how lucid this dream was. Applejack turned towards the little filly. Applebloom, how about you go show Mark around Ponyville? The small mare gleamed. Like a tour? Sure thing. Maybe I can get my cutie mark in tour guiding, she said with a hop, heading towards the door like an excited puppy. Granny Smith slightly laughed. Now don't you get ahead of yourself, Applebloom. The yellow pony nodded, opening the door, stepping out. Come on, Mark, I'll be your tour guide today, she said professionally with a smile. This here's town hall where Mayor does a lot of the government stuff, Applebloom explained as she trotted in front of Mark. Mark nodded. Well, they really have a town hall? He thought to himself as he continued to follow the filly. And this is Carousel Boutique. Miss Rarity works here. She makes dresses, Applebloom exclaimed as she stopped in front of the pink and purple building. Mark's eyes widened when he saw a pretty white unicorn with curly purple hair step out of the boutique. Oh, Rarity! Applebloom bounced up to the mare. There's someone I want you to meet. The pony Applebloom called Rarity turned around. Oh, and who might you be? She asked. Mark with a flutter in her deep blue eyes. I'm Mark, Mark answered with a friendly smile. And you're Rarity? The unicorn nodded, her curly mane following her movements. The one and only. So where are you from, Mark? Some place called California. Applebloom replied for Mark before he could even open his mouth. California? Well, it was a pleasure meeting you, Mark. I'm a little busy at the moment, but you ever need a nice suit, I'm the perfect pony to go to, Rarity said proudly. Mark nodded. Thanks. Come on, Mark, I know someone who would absolutely love to meet you, Applebloom said happily as she... Oh, God, I'm not even halfway through this chapter. Apple Bloom said happily as she trotted away. Mark said bye to Rarity and turned to follow the little filly. As they walked, Mark saw more and more unicorns, earth ponies, and even some pegasi. He wondered why the hell he would dream of this, but then he wondered what those weird marks were on all of their flanks. Before the YouTuber could ask, Apple Bloom started up the conversation herself. So what does your cutie mark mean? Apple Bloom asked curiously, trotting alongside him. Mark slightly turned his head, seeing a black M with a pink mustache on it on his gray flank. He knew immediately that was his logo. What? Apple Bloom stopped, her eyes widened with surprise. You mean you don't even know what a cutie mark is? Wow, you must have hit your head harder than I thought. Mark raised an eyebrow, seeing that she didn't have whatever a cutie mark was. A cutie mark is what appears on your flank when you've discovered what your special talent is. I haven't discovered mine yet, but I know it'll be amazing, Apple Bloom explained joyfully. Oh, well, I guess mine stands for entertaining others, Mark guessed, knowing that was the whole point of his YouTube account. Oh, you're an entertainer, the little mare said as she stepped into a big pink building that looked like a candy store or some kind of bakery. Pinkie Pie will really love you, she said happily as the two stepped in. It's not loading. It's not scrolling down. I can't read if it doesn't scroll down. Hiya there! Welcome to Sugar Cube Corner. How may I help you? The pink mare that was suddenly bounced up to them cut herself off with a huge gasp. Oh my gosh, are you new here? She exclaimed excitedly. Stay hydrated, kids. Mark stepped back a bit, surprised at how high her voice was. This is going to be a long dream, he thought nervously to himself. Ugh. Chapter 3. Okay. Mark nodded. Yeah, Apple Bloom was just showing me around. I'm Mark, by the way, he replied with a nervous smile, thinking that the pink hyper mare was going to explode. She probably was. Yee! I have to throw you a wonderific welcome party! Pinkie Pie bounced excitedly. It'll be super duper fun! And there's gonna be cake and cupcakes, ice cream, cookies, oh, and cotton candy! She squeaked happily. Mark slightly chuckled. You don't have to go through all that to welcome me. The pink mare let out another long, loud gasp. Are you kidding me? Of course I have to, silly Billy! She joyfully laughed. Mark shrugged. Well, thanks, he said, simply hoping to wake up soon. Can't wait for the party, Pinkie. We'll see you later. I still have to show Mark around, Apple Bloom explained as she trotted out of the bakery. Okie dokie Loki. Bye, Mark, Pinkie Pie said happily as she disappeared into the kitchen. Mark shook his head. Geez, I thought Aaron was obnoxious, he thought to himself as he continued to follow the little yellow filly. California, huh? I know. This is, Mrs. Tara Strong. California, huh? I don't think I've ever heard of that place before. How hard do you think you hit your head, Mr. Mark? The purple unicorn with big wings asked curiously as she levitated a few books towards her. Apple Bloom had led Mark into a huge crystal castle which seemed very girly for Mark to dream up. I guess pretty hard? Mark rubbed his head. I sort of blacked out after an accident and woke up in the middle of Sweet Apple Acres, he explained as he tried to remember what the apple farm was called. Oh, goodness. Are you okay? A small, shy voice asked from behind the purple pony. She was a yellow Pegasus with pretty light pink hair. The others called her Fluttershy. Mark nodded. Yeah, I'm fine. I've been through worse, he replied with a bright, reassuring smile. The timid mare nodded. Oh, okay. Sounds like a bunch of baloney if you ask me. How could you have even been through worse if you didn't even know what a cutie mark is? I bet you don't even know how to... Oh, wait. Sounds like a bunch of baloney if you ask me. How could you even been through worse if you didn't even know what a cutie mark is? I bet you don't even know how to fly. A cyan blue Pegasus with a multicolored mane tail snapped back at him. Mark looked down at his wings, just realizing he had the ability to fly, even though he hadn't tried yet. Rainbow Dash! The purple pony said angrily. Rainbow Dash was flying in the air. She rolled her eyes, crossing her four legs with annoyance. I'm sorry about that, Mark. She sometimes doesn't know when enough is enough. The purple mare apologized as she looked up from her books. Mark shrugged. That's okay. Twilight. Twilight Sparkle. She cut him off politely with a smile. Princess Twilight Sparkle. A little purple dinosaur or dragon of some sort added. Twilight blushed from embarrassment. Princess? Colorful talking ponies? Huge crystal castles? Why was Mark dreaming all of this up? And why hasn't he woken up yet? Hi, I'm Spike, Twilight's noble dragon assistant, the little purple dragon said proudly. Mark nodded. Hi, Spike, I'm Mark. I've never met a dragon before. Spike beamed happily, about to say something when Twilight spoke up. None of my books say anything about California. Are you sure you're not from Cloudsdale or Las Pegasus? She asked, rubbing the bottom of her chin with her purple hoof. Mark laughed at the pony pun, Las Pegasus. Is that like Los Angeles? All the ponies and the one dragon looked at him, dumbfounded. Yeah, I guess I'm from Las Pegasus then, he said awkwardly, figuring that's where he would be from in this colorful world. So Pinkie Pie's throwing you a big party tomorrow, right? Applejack asked as she led Mark to the guest room. Mark nodded. Yeah, she said all of Ponyville's going to be there. The orange cowgirl slightly laughed. Just like Pinkie. Well, you might want to get some shut-eye then. I'll see you in the morning, Mark. Mark nodded with a friendly smile as Applejack trotted away to her own room. Mark sighed and sat up on the guest bed, looking out the window. This has to be a dream, but why does it feel so real? He asked himself softly with a grin. He laid down, pulling the blankets over his new pony body as he hoped to wake up in his own bed with his tiny box Tim plushie. Chapter 4. Sunlight shone on a nearby window as Mark slowly opened his eyes. He slowly rose his hoof to rub his head. He smiled and sighed with relief when he saw his own hand. Out of all the crazy dreams I've had, this one definitely took the cake. He laughed slightly to himself as he stood up out of the bed. The YouTuber turned his head towards the computer when something compelling him to check his website's messages. He sat down in his chair, logging into YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Mark's eyes widened when he read the comments and tweets from his fans, which were frantic and rowdy. Where's Mark? Did he quit YouTube? Did he go on vacation without telling us first? One of the comments said, which was replied with, of course not, maybe he died. That reply was meant to be sarcastic, but one person took it a little seriously. Not too far-fetched. I heard he was in a car accident, someone replied. More and more comments were like this, some more serious and sad. Others seemed like conspiracies were being made. Mark stood away from his chair, turning to his phone. His jaw dropped when he saw the missed calls and unanswered text messages from his friends Bob, Wade, and even Tyler. What? He managed to sputter out, shakily going to Twitter and trying to explain his disappearance. When he tried to reach the computer, everything disappeared and he was surrounded by complete darkness and nothing else. Suddenly he appeared in a foggy field surrounded by a dusty old concrete fence. Concrete fence? Okay, libtard. Mark turned around, seeing he was in a graveyard. His eyes widened even more when he saw a big tombstone sitting in front of him. He was surrounded by bunches of flowers, stuffed animals, cards, and pictures. His eyes widened to widened water, reading the grave. Here lies Mark Edward Fishbach, Markiplier. Cause of death, car incident. Ah! Mark jolted up from his bed, quickly lifted his hand in the air, seeing that it was a black hoof accompanied by gray fur. What the hell is going on? He muttered to himself as he stepped downstairs to the Apple family who were eating apple pie for breakfast. Morning, Mark. Have a good sleep? Applejack asked with a smile, setting a freshly baked apple pie on the table. Yeah, Mark lied with a friendly smile. Well, that's good to hear. Want some fresh apple pie? The orange mare asked, keeping her smile. Mark nodded. I'd love some. Wow, this is an amazing party, Pinkie. You really didn't have to do this, Mark told the hyper mare with a smile. Pinkie Pie leaped up in excitement. Of course I had to! Now, if you'll excuse me, Gummy would like to partake in some punch, she said, trying to sound fancy. She trotted to the punch bowl, a baby alligator or crocodile dangling from the back of her hair. Mark rolled his eyes before turning his head to see ponies carrying glass cups with beverages in them, even though they didn't have any fingers. Mark formed a confused, partially amazed expression as he looked at his own hooves. He sighed, not even wanting to try and pick something up and risk breaking something. The Let's Player turned around, slightly stepping back a bit from being startled, when a mint-colored uniform stood in front of him. Hi there, I'm Lyra Heartstrings. She was carrying a styrofoam drink with a straw in it, taking a sip before speaking again. You're Mark, right? You're new here? Mark nodded. Yeah. The unicorn nodded, looked left and right, and slowly leaning in to whisper. This might sound completely mythical and crazy, but do you believe in humans? Mark's eyes widened. A colorful talking unicorn who knew about humans, he hesitantly nodded, figuring that normal ponies wouldn't believe in humans. Actually, I do. Lyra's smile grew. Really? That's awesome! No pony believes me! There's historical proof, though. Well, kind of, she ranted, slightly spilling her drink as she did, though. Mark's thoughts raced through his head. He hoped that she could help him get back to his normal self. But how the hell would he even word that? This might be a little crazy, but I'm human, and I was somehow turned into a pony, Mark explained somewhat frantically, knowing that she wouldn't believe him anyway. Lyra rose an eyebrow. Really? Well, it's not impossible. There's all kind of weird magic out there. Her huge grin came back. Oh, maybe there's a chance for me to finally prove their existence! She threw her drink aside. Come on, follow me, Lyra said, excitedly before dashing away. Mark nodded. Sure thing! He quickly trotted over. Pinkie Pie. Pinkie, I gotta go. I'm kind of busy. Pinkie Pie's head was in a bucket full of water as she pulled her head out carrying an apple with a worm in her mouth. Okie dokie Loki, I'll save you some cake, she said happily after spitting out the peculiar apple. Ugh. Please scroll. So you really are a human? Lyra asked curiously as she galloped alongside Mark, stopping when she reached a house, assumingly her house. Mark simply nodded, a worried expression on his face. Suddenly, a pale pony with a dark blue, violet, and pink curly hair sneaked out of her house. Okay, which Bonbon voice do I go with? Let me get, Lyra, who's that? She asked suspiciously. This is Mark. He's an actual human. An actual human, Bonbon! Bonbon rolled her teal eyes. Oh, well, don't blow my cover. I'll see you later, she said as she dashed away. Mark raised an eyebrow. So, can you really get me back home? Lyra's eyes widened. She rubbed the back of her head with her hoof. Maybe. I've been working on this human transporter thing, and it hasn't been working so far, but I think I almost got it. Mark sighed. Alright, I guess. Lyra opened the door to her home, stepping in, followed by Mark. She closed the door and trotted downstairs. Mark sighed nervously and followed her. So this thing can transport me to Earth or something? Mark asked curiously. Lyra tilted her head. Earth? Is that what the human world is called? She asked. Mark replied with a simple nod. She smiled. Something like that. Mark hesitantly stepped into the machine, which was only big enough for one pony at a time. So, what's Earth like? Lyra asked with a bright smile. Mark shrugged. It's got its up and downs. It's probably a much more harsh place than, Equestrian? Lyra laughed. You mean Equestria? Mark nodded. Yeah. Well, I hope this doesn't explode like the last time, Lyra stated with a nervous smile as she pressed a big shiny red button. Mark's eyes widened. Wait, what? He suddenly cut off with a bright flash of white light and suddenly felt uneasy and dizzy. The same feeling he had when he got into that car crash. The dark-haired gamer slowly faded into darkness, falling unconscious once again. Chapter 5. End. Alright, gamers. It's been like 25 minutes. Let's do it! Author's note, I'm sorry this video was too short or boring in any way. Boy, it was too long! I gotta start making 15-minute videos, otherwise everyone's gonna lose interest. This was sort of an idea, and I kind of fumbled with the first part of the 5th chapter. So please bear with me. I know it's hard, but please enjoy. I'm sorry for any disliking of the story. Also, the first part of this chapter is strictly for my good friend Wolfheart Draws. Hope it turned out good. Man, now I feel bad for saying this is boring. Alright, let's go. Home stretch, boys. Mark? Lyra stammered, seeing that the gray stallion wasn't there anymore. After the feeling of worry passed, she showed a bright grin on her face. The mint unicorn bounced. Yes, it finally works! She dashed out of the house. Oh, Ditzy! Lyra called when she saw her good friend, a gray Pegasus with blonde hair, mane and tail, with a memorable lazy eye. Oh, hey, Lyra! Ditzy replied happily as she flew into the ground to meet her human-obsessed friend. My machine finally worked! She said frantically. Come on, I'll show you! She said as she dashed off. A brown stallion with a bow tie stepped next to Ditzy. What's Lyra all worked up about? Ditzy started to trot towards where Lyra ran. Oh, hey, Doctor! She said. The machine thingy finally works! She replied as she continued to follow the greenish mare. Doctor sighed. It's just going to explode again. He shook his head with a roll of his blue eyes. Hold on, wait for me. The sound of many people's voices slowly woke Mark. He felt concrete underneath him like he were lying on a road. He slowly opened his eyes and sat up, putting a hoof on his forehead and feeling something a little wet. He looked on his hand and saw a little blood. His eyes widened. Wait, hand? Mark whipped his head around, seeing he was actually on the road. He saw his car, which was collided with the same car at the first time he passed out. The YouTuber looked around, seeing an ambulance and 2 police cars. He wiped his slightly bleeding forehead, stared at his car, which was going to need repairs. Sir, are you all right? A professional male voice asked from behind him. Mark turned around, seeing the police officer. Yeah, I'm all right, he replied before turning his head to the other car. Is anyone else hurt? He asked with slight concern when he saw the vehicle's damage, which wasn't all that bad, but certainly could still cause damage to a human. The officer shook his head. Just minor injuries. Come on, we can help bandage up your forehead. he offered as he turned around and walked towards the ambulance. Mark took one last look around. He slightly smiled when he saw news reporters. He rolled his eyes and followed the cops. "Hey guys, it's Markiplier," Mark stated in the video he was making without his original intro. "So, in the news you might have heard I was in a car accident." He nodded and slightly tapped his bandaged forehead. "I just want to let you guys know that I'm alright, but I'm gonna try and rest for today." He rubbed the back of his neck. "A lot of stuff happened to me, and I just gotta wrap my head around it." He smiled at the camera. "So, Markiplier is gonna take... It's not scrolling again! So, Markiplier is gonna take a lazy day, but I'll be back to recording and editing tomorrow." He smiled happily to reassure his fans before saying his outro and turning off his camera and uploading it. Mark plopped on the bed, looking up at the ceiling. He chuckled, remembering all this happened just because he needed to buy new light bulbs. He rolled his chocolate-colored eyes and thought about the odd dream of the colorful phonies. The dark-haired YouTuber continued to stare at the ceiling. "I'm just gonna act like that never happened," he sighed. "Ever." Alright, that was harmless. Little long. But it was pretty good. I don't have anything bad to say about it, really. I mean, it's a Markiplier My Little Pony fanfiction. You get what you pay for, and you don't pay for anything, so you don't get anything exceptionally good or exceptionally bad. Just sort of neutral. It's not bad. I'll give it about a 6 out of 10. I don't know, man. Stay subscribed. On the second day of Christmas, all you gamer gave to me. Hoof it, a Markiplier fanfiction. It doesn't flow. And I'm bad at music. Alright. Anyway. Subscribe to Slazo. I don't know how to end videos. 6 out of 10. Subscribe to Slazo. Ask me questions on Twitter. Alright? Please. I need questions.